let's talk about our starts of the week. Guys that we are pumped to be able to see, think that they are going to do well this week in week 1. Field, let's start with you.
Yeah, let's define this a little bit, right? If these are players that you normally are starting, you're saying that, like, you think a big week is in store.
Yes, we're not talking like CMC and Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb.
You could make them that. You could make that, but it would be like, hey, I think this could be the best game of the season for CeeDee Lamb this week or something like that. It also could be a player that isn't necessarily a lock to start that you think deserves to be started this week. And that's where I land. Caleb Williams from Chicago Bears, who based off ADP and based off of some people's rankings, is not a lock to start. I've got him inside my top 10 this week. I think the era begins in Chicago. Caleb Williams is a top 10 quarterback for me this week. Special football player, excellent group of players around him. I think Tennessee, they definitely will be improved defensively relative to where they were last year. The horsepower they have in that secondary is much, much better, but I'm not totally convinced it happens right away that they gel and become a dominant unit. I think Chicago wins this game in Chicago. Caleb has a big day.
Let me ask you one question really quickly. Has there been a rookie quarterback in the last 5 to 10 years that you think came into a better situation with the players around him?
A rookie one? Yeah. Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
Okay, that's fair. All right, that's a good point.
But the number one pick. Okay, but you get what's like. So as far as young quarterbacks taking number one overall, it's maybe the best ever.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Stephania, what about you?
Who am I picking?
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor.
Ooh.
And I think if you start out last year, he missed the first 4 weeks because between the ankle and a bit unhappy, comes back, starts to get back into it, then tears a ligament in his thumb, has to undergo surgery, then comes back again. It was not a good year for Jonathan Taylor. We've seen the top tier running backs. He's not in it. So I think it's sort of this unsexy pick to have Jonathan Taylor high, but think about all the opportunities he's going to have now. First of all, he's been paid. He's happy. With Anthony Richardson being healthy and being a threat to run is sort of what we talk about with the Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, even though they're very different in size and style. Having a running quarterback as a threat makes you a better player. If you look at the depth behind him, Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson, they're not giving the ball to them, by the way. And he's averaging over 19 touches a game over 4 years in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor's going to touch the ball a lot. Texans' run defense doesn't scare me. I think it's a big day for Jonathan Taylor.
Love it. Love all that. All right, Mike, who you got this week?
You know where I'm going with this. An old running back.
Obviously. Of course.
Come on.
Guy over 30.
Look, week to week, they're fine. Okay, it's a full season where you're concerned. My favorite fourth round target this year. Wrote about it. No, I wrote about him in the ultimate draft board.
Oh,
fourth round. I even mentioned all of you because I knew you'd give me a hard time for it. Alvin Kamara is my play this week. I'm as RB4, which might be too low because last year he was RB3. He was outstanding when he was on the field. Kendra Miller hasn't worked out so far, and he's not even going to be active for this game. It's going to be Jamal Williams, who wasn't a threat last year to Kamara. Taysom Hill will get some backfield work as well, but it should be the Kamara show, who again led the running back position in target share last season in his career, averaging 16.6 fantasy points per game against the Carolina Panthers, at almost a touchdown per game. They were atrocious against the run last year as well, the most touchdowns allowed to that position. So all in on Kamara in week 1.
Yeah, it's tough to be able to argue with that. In spite of the fact that, we tried, Field and I feel like tried to stay outside of these top running backs. Stephania, I get it because Jonathan Taylor coming back from injury. Mike, I don't know what your excuse is in taking just such a superstar running back for this segment, but it's fine.
Because there's other things like DFS and there's betting.
Okay.
There's good reasons to talk these guys up.
All right.
Big weeks.
I'm going to talk about Malik Nabers.
I'm
pumped to see this one, obviously, a little more anecdotal.
Start Malik Nabers. Oh, hot take from Daniel.
Where do you have Malik Nabers? He's outside the top.
I can't say those words in front of me for another week. Bubble guts will return.
That's true. Bum floods. We don't need those. So
hot snakes.
Here's where I'm at with Malik Nabers.
Parks and Rec reference.
I feel like with Malik Nabers, obviously a little bit more anecdotal. We haven't seen him on the, a real NFL field, but this entire offense should have run through him. Daniel Jones should just pepper him with targets with the way that he came in. You saw what he did in college and was absolutely unbelievable. And watching him this preseason and listening to people in this offense talk about him, the idea that the Giants unretired, the first number ever retired in NFL history for a guy that hasn't even stepped foot on an NFL field yet, lets you know what they think of this kid. And I'm just all in on being able to see what he's going to be able to do here week 1. I have him as wide receiver 22. By the time that we pull out our Friday players, he's going to be a top 20 wide receiver.
Got a highlight reel from training camp already. I can't
he's
see what he does in a real game.
I think what you're hoping for, and I understand that the net result last night wasn't incredible. You're hoping that Malik Nabers is what Zay Flowers was for the Ravens last night.
Yes.
The only guy.
Yep.
I guess Isaiah
for a
Levy got
big
lot of
wide
targets, too.
receiver. Yes.
Yeah, the only receiver that mattered, and they're constantly scheming up ways to get him the football. That would be my ideal for Malik Nabers for the New York Giants offense.
Zay Flowers probably actually had like 14 or 15 targets. It's just that a bunch of them didn't count because of
There were so many penalties.
many penalties. So if that happens and we see double-digit targets in week 1 for Malik Nabers, I will not be surprised.